you're probably going to show it that it's live here in a second. I typically wait until it actually shows up.
And then I can watch it and see the live chat at the same time, right?
I think so, yeah. All right,
I just won't do it on the same Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we're live, man. How's it going, Kyle? It's everybody. I'm Dustin Coiner, and I'm the track day goon out in Southern California, talking to KWR Ducati kind of badass dude, Kyle Wyman.
What's happening?
Hey,
thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for joining this thing. You know, like I started this thing with Richard Stanboli just to kind of talk about Superbike racing and what he's doing, and he ended up liking to do it, and so we've been doing them basically after every race weekend since that first one, and we did one after the test at the Ridge as well. And last week,
I've been watching.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Oh yeah, I caught a few of them.
Last week I had a lot of fun talking to Chuck Giacchetto from Westby.
Yeah.
And the next day, talking to a bunch of my staff guys, and one of them in particular was like, dude, you know, it would be cool. I know you could get him too. Let's see if we can get Kyle.
Sure. No, man, I'll send you an invoice after.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. So you're a Ducati guy now, right? Like everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need it.
I know, dude. I know. So, dude, I met you, 5 or 6 years ago, right? At Champ School?
Yeah, Champion School. We were, I guess, probably both guest instructing at the time, maybe.
I don't know, dude. I think you were actually legit instructing.
Dove in pretty quick. Yeah.
You know, we were basically, I was Nick's cone bitch for the day, right? And you know, one of the things I noticed about you, you know, obviously we've joked about it on the social thing last week, right? Like, gosh, I gotta go there, dude. It's early. So
I know this is your second reference, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I only get 3, but it's only one. I'm done with it. But you know, Justin Bieber thing, and you and I had a good laugh about it. But apparently, you owned that. Like you were using that.
Yeah, whatever it takes, man. You gotta ride any wave you're on.
Yeah, I mean, you could share the story or whatever if you want to, but you told me something about being in Europe.
Oh yeah, no, these girls thought I was legit Justin Bieber in Austria. It was crazy.
And you're like, yeah.
Kind of went along with it for a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They didn't speak English. It was all good.
Yeah, so you know, the Champ School was a lot of fun this weekend, and I'm just gonna let that go. Like I made a little Photoshop side by side and stuff back then, and it was.
I think I've grown out of my Bieber phase anyway. I think I don't think we look quite the same anymore, especially the way he's looking these days. So.
Well, you need to add some more tattoos and shit.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Yeah, but you know, one of the things I said to Nick right away was like, dude, this kid actually legit owns the material. Like you have a pretty strong presence in the class, and both on and off the track. So tell me a little bit about that. Like when did you start instructing and wanting to be an instructor guy?
I've been coaching since like 2009, and I didn't have barely any road race experience. I mean, I was a year into it, but I was actually coaching with a sport bike track time out at Monticello Motor Club out in New York.
Okay.
Helping Dave Podolsky, who owns Chicken Hawk Racing. Did some like coaching with him, and then I grew up in upstate New York here near Rochester, and I helped out Jason DeSalvo's school, who was also kind of a, you know, comes from like the Freddie Spencer riding background and things like that, which is of course the same school that is now the Champion School. So I've been exposed to that type of material from Jason and helping out his school and stuff. And then I was introduced to Ken Hill out at Thunder Hill back in like 2012 or 13, I think. And when they restarted the school after it left Miller, Utah Motorsports Campus, they started the school out in Jersey. And I kind of got in at the beginning of the whole run of ownership, which it is now, which started in 2014. So I'm not an owner of the school, but I am a senior instructor, and I've been, you know, become a big part of what they're doing. Not so much this year because all the schools are on race weeks. It seems like it's always too busy for me to get over there, but because they're there today and tomorrow and Wednesday, or
Right.
yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So, but yeah, I'm in upstate New York, getting ready to go down to Jersey tomorrow for the race.
So, just looking at where you are, I'm guessing that's like your family home, right? Like that's your mom's
Yeah,
house.
this is where I grew up
Okay.
in Macedon, New York, a little bit east of Rochester, New York. So way up in there's quite a bit of land up here. It's not the New York that people think. So I'm a New Yorker. I'm living in Arizona now. I'm an Arizona resident, but anytime we're on the East Coast, we spend some time up here. I get to unload my trailer into the basement of the Harley dealership. So we have a Harley Davidson dealership my mother owns, and that's kind of how we got into everything. I was supposed to be a flat tracker, and
Yeah, I
you know,
see the cool sign behind you.
yeah. So I grew up flat track racing, backyard TT track out in the field, stuff like that, and turned pro in flat track 2006. Ran pro flat track 6, 7, and 8, and switched to road racing in the middle of 2008. So pretty late to the whole road race thing, especially compared to some of the guys I'm racing against right now, So, but yeah, I've been a flat tracker, my whole life. Still feel like a flat tracker. I watch all the flat track races, know all those guys, and but yeah, road racing now.
Nice. So, I'm looking at that trophy there, like behind you. Like, how long have you actually been racing?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been working in this spot in the basement, just like catching up on stuff. And but she has like some very important trophies. Like this is my first trophy ever from when I was 8 years old, racing at Crusaders Motorcycle Club in Medina, New York. Finished 5th on the PW50. So that's things all loose, needs a little bit of love, but yeah, so it's cool to being in a racing family. Both my parents drag raced, and obviously my grandfather started the dealership in 62 right
Wow.
here on this property. So yeah, motorcycles have been everywhere, but we were definitely all flat trackers. The whole idea that I race a Ducati and Travis races a BMW, Cody races a Yamaha, and growing up around Harleys and being in that whole deal is everything has gone sideways.
Right. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I mean, which one's the oldest one? Is it you?
I am the oldest.
You're the
Yep.
oldest. Okay.
I'm the oldest. Travis the middle.
Travis,
Cody's the
Cody.
youngest.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could tell you guys are kind of a racing family, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've actually raced against your brother out at Chuckwalla before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we had a couple of good scraps out there, man.
Yeah.
And seeing him progress as well, like he's done pretty well in that super stock class. And
Yep.
I think he finished second a couple years ago to Andrew Lee, and then
he led a lot of that championship and had a
Yeah.
couple little mistakes, but yeah, that came down to it pretty close, and now he's hanging in there. Those guys are all getting quicker, including him. So yeah, it's good. He's on the 2020 this year, so he's kind of developed. He's on the new one, so he's kind of developing that BMW.
Yeah, and then I know Cody. I guess he had an off on Thursday or Friday as well, and ended up having to punch out from the weekend, right? Because
he bumped his head, and he had one about a couple months ago also. So just a little bit of a precaution not to go out there fresh off another one. And he's ready to go for this weekend. It's all good.
Right on, man. Well, I've seen you race all sorts of stuff. Like when I met you, I think you were racing both an R6 and a Harley.
Yep.
Like, how do you do that, dude? Like, how do you go from to?
Yeah, the Harley was my bread and butter.
Oh,
the XR 1200 series, man. That was where, like, I truly believe I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that series.
No kidding.
Because it's quite a long story on how I ended up there, but the reason KWR exists and everything is because I ended up going out on my own, kind of away from the family and doing my own thing. and bringing my dad with me, and we kind of started doing stuff out of a pickup truck, and my mom was running a team for my brothers, and me and my dad were doing our thing. And the Harley stuff was just an affordable way to go be competitive, being a spec series. And that was a Harley thing to begin with, you know, being in a Harley kind of background and stuff, and racing XR 750s and doing all that, you know, in my teenage years. That the Harley stuff made sense. And then I started this rental program where I had all these bikes, and I partnered with a dealership out of Indiana. And peak Harley for me was like 2013 Indianapolis. I had a broken wrist and I had 9 bikes rented, including Hafiz Siren, who's a current Moto2, was in MotoGP for 2 years. He won and beat Steve Rapp on my Harley. So like I had this whole business plan with all the renting income, and that was how I funded my racing, was renting XR 1200 Harleys. And you know, I ended up starting to branch into where I could afford to run a 600 for myself. And then when the Harley series disappeared and MotoAmerica came on in 2015, I ran 600s, then moved up to Superbike. And this is my 9th season running KWR.
Okay.
And started with a Dodge Ram, and now we have a semi. Crazy.
Yeah.
So.
You know, you know, there's been a few people commenting about this, but I was already going to ask it, like, how the hell do you do it? Like, you don't still drive the truck, do you?
Yeah, I didn't have to drive. I didn't have to drive from the Ridge to New York. My dad got his CDL. I've got my permit, which is good because I have to have another CDL driver with me. So like I'll still do a lot of the driving, but like I literally can't drive it by myself, which is good because I probably would. You know, so I get to have somebody kind of split the drive with me. But my dad trekked from Washington all the way to New York. I didn't want to drive for 48 hours thinking about the mess I made up there. So, but how do I do it? I mean, it's a process. Like I said, 9 seasons, right? It's a long time trying to figure out just what's it going to take, and being committed to it, and not, you know, taking no for an answer. And there's a lot of bad days. There's a lot of good days, but this is what I want to do, and I'm willing to do anything to do it. So that's.
But okay, so you're the truck driver, team manager, and rider, and cooler washer, whatever. Like, how do you squeeze it all in and still focus on riding and trying to go fast?
Well, I think the answer to that is that I don't, you know, honestly, like I would like to be a better athlete. I'd like to be a better team owner. I'd like to be a better logistics manager. I'd like to be a better marketer. I'd like to be in touch with my sponsors more, you know, but like you can't do 5 things at 100%. It's not possible.
Right.
So there's good things coming down the pipe for our team. They're going to help take some stress off of me and take some things out of my list, you know? So that's really good. But I've got great guys this year that, you know, Darren Marshall's crew chief. He worked for Yosh he was with me last year. But before that, he was with Yosh. Jordan. He was all the way back to HRC, AMA Superbike, and all that. Like, he knows how to get it done. The guys know how to do it right, which is a great thing. But it's also, the guys know how to do it right, and they demand a lot out of me, you know, from a budget standpoint, from a time standpoint. And then they say, hey, go train too. You know, it's like, yeah, we got to get all the pieces together. And as you've seen over the last few weekends, we've had some really tough weekends, and it just comes down to preparation.
Yeah.
And, you know, up until literally today, I've been the only full-time employee at my team for 9 years. Everybody else is a fly-in or helper or whatever else. And today we've secured my main man, Dave Hopkinson, as full-time. And that's a huge step for our team, thanks to some sponsors and stuff. And it all came to a head these last few weekends. Just having, like, missing a race on Sunday is the most devastating thing because of everything that comes together to try to get the program to the track. And then you can't make it out for race 2. It's not acceptable, you know? So got some work to do, but we're on our way.
Yeah, I mean that was heartbreaking watching that, knowing that, seeing all the pictures on social, like, like I don't know what kind of deal that you have with regards to the access to the parts or anything like that, but it was kind of presented that you kind of had one of that stuff, and then you have to go to like stock spares after.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, preparation. It's, at the beginning of the year, it's like, in a perfect world, you have 10 sets of bodywork. You got 4 swing arms. You got, you're deep enough, especially with the season the way it's gone because of COVID being all stacked up really tight now.
Right.
When you have a problem and it compounds through weekends, the teams that are prepared to handle that are very few and far between.
Right.
And we weren't one of them. So when you get in more of a reactionary type of state with your parts ordering, and you're always trying to make up and try to catch up and get ahead of things. And we're changing specs of parts throughout the year because these guys stopped making this or whatever else, and you don't have it all planned out and everything stocked up and prepped. It gets really difficult. So obviously it came to a head. We missed race 2, and really it was more likely in race 2 I was going to get taken out again than I was going to score points from the back of the grid, just the way the weekend was going. So, it's a bummer. I mean, we were 3rd in points early on. Then we went into the Ridge 4th, and we left the Ridge in 6th with 0 points. So, being there in a championship is about being there every weekend. And, we have goals to be more of a contender, but a lot of things have to happen from an infrastructure standpoint and a budget standpoint to get us to that point.
Yeah. I mean, we've been watching you here, I mean, I know who you are, and, my wife and I were watching when you first podiumed on the R1 in Superbike, and you were like, woo, and I mean, no shit, my wife was in there crying, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have a fan base like that. And I mean, how about that Ducati fan base though? That's a little different.
Yeah.
The Ducati,
it's great.
What do they call it? The Ducatisti or whatever?
Ducatisti. Yeah.
Those people they're really hardcore Ducati people.
They are. No, it's been great. I mean, that's like one of the big things that pushed me over into just going for it with the Ducati. Like at the end of 2018, I knew I needed to make a change. I just wanted to do something different. I just didn't want to be another one of the Yamahas on the grid. Unless I was the best Yamaha, it really wasn't going to get me anywhere.
Right? We talked about the attack bike, right?
Yeah, no, I think that was even going. Yeah, that was going into 19.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard, I think he wanted a faster rider.
I don't know about that. I think it was more about the money.
He's worried I couldn't
be real. It's about the money. So
no, it's fine because I like when people don't think I can do it. So let's go.
Yeah, I don't think that Richard didn't think you could do it.
I
mean,
know,
honestly, whatever.
No, I mean the path I've taken. I was gonna race a BMW. I was gonna race a Kawasaki. I had a really, really solid deal to run a Kawasaki Superbike, and it fell apart January 15th of last year. And I was like, well, I got this R1 sitting here, but that doesn't really excite me. Like I'd have to start over and just build a morale to really do something with that thing. I was going to have to start over. And I had an opportunity to get the first 2 Panigale V4Rs off the line, really the first 2 production bikes in the US if I paid the air freight and got them there at the end of February. So the bike showed up March 1st. I literally I ordered those 2 bikes at the dealership with no idea how I was going to pay for them, but I had 6 weeks to figure it out. And I went through some some tough times getting that paid for, but a big help was winning the Daytona 200 right after that, right after those bikes came in. That was like, I don't know how I would have made the first round if I didn't win the Daytona 200. It was crazy. So everything kind of fell into place, and like the support I've had from the Ducati industry and the people, because it's so like, you know, if 10 people walk out of a Yamaha dealership with a new R1, how many of them watch racing on the weekend? Like maybe 1 or 2, right? But like of all those Ducati owners that walk out of a dealership with a new Ducati, how many of them watch racing?
Yeah.
Probably the majority of them.
Yeah.
You know, so like there's such pure racing fans that, you know, the relatability with a team that doesn't rely on, you know, OEM support to go racing, I need to rely on their fan base and generate a network out of that. So, you know, that's been a huge deal, is just, you know, being able to interact and have the KW Army and do all the cool things like that.
So let's see. Apparently, we've got a couple of your Ducatisti or Ducati. I don't even know.
Ducatisti.
I'm an R1 guy, man.
And that's plural. It's Italian.
So let's see. How are you feeling? How can we get that Ducati on the podium?
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay. You've been on the podium quite a bit this year, right? I mean, I know you.
Well, we had 2.
Yeah,
we had 2 at round 2 with podium sweep, which was great. You know, battles with Tony, Matt, and those guys, and coming out on top of those battles, like that was our goal, was to be in that fight, to be that kind of next guy after the 2 factory-ish teams, right?
There's like 4 that shop.
Yeah, be the next guy after that, but fighting with, you know, the 1 or 2 of those guys and being in that mix. We got to just we just got to be prepared. We just got to be ahead of the parts ordering and preparation part of it. I mean, I feel like the bike is in a position now where now it's no good with a stock swing arm and a stock motor, which is where we've kind of been like just fighting to get parts back on the bike. But we got some help. Ducati North America has supported us now officially. Got us a proper motor for this thing.
Okay.
From the World Superbike guys, and the Aruba guys were able to help us get 2 more swing arms of the spec that we snapped in half at the ridge. So we're back in a good position for the parts we broke. It's just the other stuff, just, you know, fairing stays and they're back ordered, and it's like, oh, you know, we got to like try to take these bent ones and make them work, just stuff like that, from being in the reactionary state, like I talked about, instead of being proactive and having the depth of spares, which takes money, you know? So it's just like, I think the package we have is capable of being on the podium every weekend. Now, if it all falls into place, that's something we're working on.
Yeah. What you're saying, you know, I've watched you, and you're one of the only riders you see on TV. If something goes down, you're the guy picking up his crashed parts and taking them.
Oh yeah, people are trying to give me a ride in. I'm like, no, I got to make sure all the pieces of this thing get back into the paddock, because I know what every single piece costs. So yeah, it's yeah, I'm usually there making sure they strap down the bike correctly and everything.
Yeah, we see it. I mean, anybody watching can see that. Like, you're the only guy. Everyone else kind of walks away from it, lets the crash truck handle it, and you're like, no, but what about this windscreen? It's still good.
Yeah, I will be that way no matter what I ride and who I ride for. If I end up getting a factory ride at some point, like, I know truly what it takes to get that thing ready to go out there and be competitive. So, like, I have so much respect for all the teams who do it well. You know.
Well, I mean, when you got the thing, I mean, you were riding it basically half the season last year stock, right? Like,
nothing was available.
I think it even had the stock tail section on it.
Yeah, we had the key taped under the tank for like the first 4 rounds with the stock electronics and everything, because there was no solution for that.
You're
but now it's
Pirelli now.
Yeah, it's called a super stock kit, but it's a full Morelli system. It's just a different style loom, like a wiring harness that's more designed for more of a stock looking bike or stock setup bike,
Okay.
like the ECUs in under the nose instead of under the tank. It's just a different loom, and it uses like the OEM wheel speed sensors. Like it's not a full Morelli hardware system, but the capabilities of the software are as almost, I mean, 90% of what World Superbike is. Of course, it's only as good as the guy typing on the keyboard, which fortunately I have a good one.
I was gonna say that's not you, right? Like you didn't pick up that.
No. It's
I mean,
it's actually
you're doing
refreshing. It's
everything.
like it's refreshing to have parts of this team that I don't know how to do. It's like I don't want to learn how to do that. So it's nice that I can have someone that's their deal, and we talk and I give feedback on the electronics, but like that's Marshall's deal. Like I ain't touching that. And he
How big
probably
of
wouldn't
a
let me anyway.
how big of a difference has it made to have that electronics capability versus what you had last year and before, even on the Yamaha, right? I think
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean it's
you had a
yeah, we
flat
used a
or something.
flash tune.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty basic, and if you have the right guy who knows really how to change the power outputs and stuff on a flash tune or a YC type of system, you can make good use of it. We didn't. We were just using kind of base maps and trying to change engine braking. Like that was our main thing. But like having the Morelli stuff is like I can go in a Marshall and be like, hey, in this corner, through the middle of it, I need more freewheel. But when I'm braking straight up and down, the engine brake is good. So like once I tip in, I want it to be more free. So like you can dial in each section of each corner on a racetrack. And then I think the biggest thing is a lot of what Richard always talks about on these videos is being able to tame the bike down so it's more rideable, and like learning how that is actually how you go fast for a long period of time has been pretty groundbreaking. And I've really dove into that towards the end of last year and starting into this year. It's tough when you go to new tracks and you got to figure it all out without testing there beforehand and all that. But that's kind of the biggest thing, is just realizing that, like you actually go faster by making the bike a little bit slower.
Yeah, it's kind of counter to your.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I just need a bigger hammer, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so going into that, obviously, I guess you could say your lap times are reflective of that improvement.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just and going to tracks that we were at last year, so like we actually started having issues at Atlanta. So when we were at Atlanta last year, we're on the stock electronics, so we have no Morelli data maps or anything.
Right.
So it's basically a new track. Pittsburgh, we had a lot of data. We had a stock motor. We had a couple other issues holding us back, but going into Jersey, Barber, where we've tested and raced, like these are places where when I roll out first session, those power maps that I ended on last year are in the bike ready to go. We can start from here instead of ground zero.
Right.
That makes a big difference, especially like last year we had those 2-day events and we're trying to get up to speed Saturday morning. We're racing Saturday afternoon. It's just impossible. So like I think Jersey's going to be good. I think we're going to, it's obviously I've had success there in the past on different bikes and stuff. So I think we're going to be close.
How much do you think having I heard all the testing that you were doing at Indy before the season started this year, like how much did that help?
Honestly, we only did 30 laps on the Superbike.
Oh, okay.
Out there. I just rode a stock V4 a ton and was really just trying to play around and slide it and just, stay fit and bike fit and all that. But honestly, we really didn't do a lot of testing to be fair. Like it's just so especially with how quick engines time out and everything on the Ducati, and I got to have all my guys out there. I can't just I would go to a track day and I'd roll my R1 Superbike out of my trailer and I'd go test by myself sometimes. But like
Right.
now, with how sophisticated the electronics are and how much maintenance this bike takes, you can't just do that. So like if we're gonna go test, I got to fly my guys in. You know, we got to have fresh tires. You know, you got to do it correctly, and that makes it a lot harder to just go out and test every week. You know.
Right. So tell me about that, like that maintenance schedule. You said that the engines time out on that Ducati. Like what, like how how many engines do you go through, man?
Well, we go through a lot less if we didn't quit hurting them. Like at the Ridge, we had a brand new fresh engine for the weekend, and the swing arm, when it broke, it tore something apart in the cases of the engine. So
Okay.
we got to take that thing back apart and start over. But it's pretty normal. But it's like, you know, I would run a mild build on the R1 stuff, and we could just run them and run them and run them, and then I'd have a stock motor. I could go run that, but you got to be a little more careful with these things because you get them past a certain mileage and you start wearing out a lot more expensive parts than, just rings and things like that, so we're learning about what they can really take, and they haven't taken as much as we thought in some cases. So, we go to do a top end and find out we need rods sometimes.
Okay. That's super interesting. I mean, I talked to the boys at the shop, and I mean they don't time out the engines as much as you would think. And as a matter of fact, I know they kind of keep the engines that are supposed to be timed out, and they'll just test on them. They basically run them until they're dead.
That's kind of what I mean. Like it's for
Yeah.
the Yamaha stuff, we just keep running them because they just wouldn't hurt them. If we run a motor, more than 2,500 kilometers, we run the risk of it being absolutely worthless.
Oh.
Rather than serviceable.
Okay.
Where you just have to chuck the thing because it's literally not. You're better off buying a new engine than trying to replace all the stuff that's worn out past a certain point. So it just makes it where you have to be a lot more on top of it and keeping track of all the mileage of everything.
That's got to be tough for a privateer effort, right? I mean, you're gonna get Ducati to be the guy, like you're gonna be the Ducati official team, or I mean, it just seems
I'd like to
a lot more,
No. I mean, I need to prove myself even more. I need to prove that I have the capabilities to do more with less. And we've done a lot with what we have. We've been on the podium. We've run up front, and that's great. But like, we need to show that we are a force. If we just get that little bit of help, a little bit of something to push us over the edge, a little bit of that base, just kind of structure and either budget or whatever it is, we have to prove that. So, I'm a firm believer, as you might have noticed, in do it first, and then find a way to, gather help along the way. Because, you always hear every winter there's a rumbling, somebody's going to race a Ducati. Somebody's working on a Ducati thing to bring it to MotoAmerica. And it doesn't happen because they don't get the support. Ducati says, they can't jump in, or a sponsor falls through. I'm like, I'm just going to order 2 from a dealership and just see what happens.
See, I always thought that dealership gave you a couple of bikes and you're like, yeah, let's go racing. Like,
No.
I didn't know you went and ordered them and bought them.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome, actually.
But it's been good, and like, I got a great relationship with Paolo Ciabatti, and Giovanni Krupi is Scott Redding's crew chief in World Superbike. Fausto Gaffar, he's Redding's electronics guy. He's the guy who came over and tested with us at the beginning of last year, basically to give us an idea of how to run the electronics and almost to vet us as a team to make sure that we can handle, the system. And they've been great. Like, those guys are super helpful on information and just any problems we have with electronics, or even just comparing data and looking at suspension and things like that, and just trying to work together. It's a little bit tough because we're on Dunlops here and they're on Pirellis. So like a lot of it is a little bit out of context, especially with like the valving and things. But like, we have a great working relationship. No, we're not the official Ducati team. But whether or not we become the official Ducati team or a big factory supported effort, like, we're growing and we're generating support, whether they can or not, but they are stepping up and they have helped us get back going and get us higher spec engines for the rest of the season.
That's so all this electronics talk, I'm going to go there, right?
Bring it.
The last couple of weeks, I've talked to Richard quite a bit about this, and Richard got some pretty strong opinions about the electronics. Chuck Giacchetto basically almost mirrored what Richard was saying with the electronics, and the question is, and you see it on the internet all over, right? You see the Facebook crew chiefs, right? Talking about how, you should go to British Superbike controlled ECU rules and that kind of stuff. Like, what do you think about that, K-Dubs?
Takes a more skilled electronics guy to win in BSB than it does to win in MotoAmerica, because you have to take a system that's not designed to go all the way to the end of the earth as far as settings and everything and make it do it anyway.
Okay.
Like, they talk about, oh yeah, they don't have any rider aids, they're real men, that blah blah blah. Yeah, they still have torque mapping, okay, and they still can retard the timing and everything, and like, if you get the things dialed in over there, like, it's harder to do that, and there's no like base settings. Like, when we started with our Magneti Marelli system, which is probably cheaper than a Motec system for a V4R, we were given a base map that was pretty damn close. Like, I was able to go out and do really, really good lap times at Pittsburgh without even customizing any corners or doing any mapping whatsoever. And the manufacturers under the rules are required to provide that and provide support to teams. Now, whether they do or not, that's not my say, but for us, like, here's the kit, here's a guy, which Ducati North America was kind enough to help get him over to help us get off and running and get off on the right foot. And I mean, plug and play. Like, I've never, up until last week, really, when I destroyed a bike and I had to start over from scratch, we had a couple bad sensors. Like, I never had any electronics issues last year. And for a team that jumped into Magneti Marelli after 4 rounds in the middle of the season, that's unheard of. So yeah, as far as changing the rules, I just want these stock teams and super stock teams that left the series to man up and go to Superbike. And I don't care if you get the electronics or not. When I raced all of 2016 in Superbike, I had a completely super stock motorcycle. I didn't have forks, I didn't have wheels, I didn't have anything. I signed up for Superbike so I could start gaining experience. And then through 2017, I'm in Superbike. And there were so many times where I was the 4th guy on the track. I got 3 Superbikes in front of me on the podium. And then I got 3 super stock thousands behind me on the podium. And I'm 4th on track Superbike, left out to dry. And like, that has prepared me to become a better rider and build my program. I didn't do the super stock thing for all but 1 race at the end of 15. Jumped to Superbike because that's where I wanted to be anyway, and flailed around there until I figured it out. I'm still figuring it out.
That's awesome, man. Like, I mean, you've been kind of seeing me scumbag the Altis guys every week, right? It's like, come on, guys, let's go racing.
I mean, I get tired of, I would race Superbike if ... Because if you're not there, you're not going to be there. Like, if you want to be in Superbike, you find a way to do it. Like, I did it with nothing. I mean, like, literally the first year in Superbike, I did it on like $110,000, which sounds like a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. Like, it was silly.
Nice.
So I don't know. When you actually add up, like, some of these teams that are doing stock 1,000, they're stock 1,000 teams in well into 6-figure budgets. Not even on purpose. Like, I've never started a season with all the money lined up. I gather along the way. I think if you want to be in Superbike, if you really want to be in Superbike, man, just buy a GSX-R 1000 and slap Superbike numbers on it. Like, it's legal for Superbike right off the showroom floor. No, it's not going to compete against Cameron, but build something, get something going, generate some sponsors, generate some support, get a little bit better, get a little bit of results. Now you really get, I just, that's how I feel about it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
So what do you think of that one team this year, with PJ? They were racing super stock at the beginning of the year, and now PJ had a burning incident, and they've kind of replaced him temporarily or whatever, but they basically ditched super stock and they're racing Superbike on that thing now. So what do you think of having another Ducati on the grid with you?
I think it's good. I mean, I think it's cool that, like, you would never see that in the past really with a Ducati, because it's been too far away from a race bike out of the box, where it takes so much to get a Ducati on a racetrack. Whereas now a V4R is a lot closer to, like, you can actually throw a few bits on it, radiators, electronics if you can get them, and you can race Superbike and be fairly competitive. So, like, I think it's really cool that there's more out there. The bike was never going to survive stock 1000 with a stock radiator. I mean, I was trying to run it with a stock radiator last year. So I think that's part of the problems, but I think they're in Superbike where they belong, truthfully. I think it's great. The V4R is meant to be a Superbike. It's designed as a homologation special to be a Superbike. So I think it's great. And, like, everything that, because our rules are the same as World Superbike, if I can find the money, I can buy the parts that they use in World Superbike, bolt them on, not a problem. If we were super stock rules or different electronics, I mean, it's already, those BSB teams went through hell trying to make a Motec system for that bike. When Ducati Corsa didn't, they were like, gosh, that's like, it's such a big spec change, from Morelli. And I think it's great. And we'll see what that, I don't know what they're doing this week, but
we'll see. I don't know if they're going to have that Zanetti guy back, but he was going pretty good at the Ridge.
Yeah, no, I think everybody wanted to see the battle. Wasn't to be, but we'll see what happens at Jersey.
Yeah. So let's see. Do you want to discuss your thoughts on the 636 drama in the 600 class? You have no dog in the fight, so.
This is true. I don't know. Displacement is for sure something there, but I just don't like the approach and the mindset. Like, if I was in that situation, there's nothing I can do about it. Right. So I'm pretty much just going to keep quiet and keep busting my ass until I beat it. And then I might say something. That's how I would approach it. But, getting beat by it and just moaning about it, it's just not a good look, man. I'm not a fan. So I just, I like to be a little bit more quiet and just do the work. And
all right, I'll let that slide. I figure you'd get a little more colorful there because I know you raced in that class before.
Yeah, I never did anything.
Actually legal back then too.
Yeah, I mean, I was racing R6 and I was never in the top 5. I mean, I didn't really get anywhere near the front in anything until I got on a 1000, really, for whatever reason. So.
All right. So, you know what? Let's talk about new pavement. We've got, I guess, the track down the street from your house, Indy, is getting repaved pretty soon. What do you think of that?
I'm excited for those guys because they haven't done any resurfacing except for a couple little sections here and there since the track was built over 10 years ago. So Indy Motorsports Ranch, Wilcox, Arizona. It's my home track. I'm a member there. They're a big help for my program. They let me keep my rig out there and stuff and ride, 365 days a year if I want. Place is awesome. It's like 3 miles, 21 turns, and now it's going to have fresh pavement. It's supposed to be done like first week of October. So they must be digging it up right now if they haven't already. So I'm excited to get out there on a fresh surface. And it's been a really great track for us coaching out there at the school. It hasn't been the greatest test track because it's narrow and the pavement's not really like anywhere else, but I think a repave will actually make it a legitimate test track for us. So that's what I'm most excited about, is getting out there on the Superbike and seeing how it is smooth and everything.
That's, there's new pavement there. Chuck Walla, I talked to Mickey today and he said that they're doing a little grinding and stuff out there to, fix
It's imminent.
Yeah. And then also, Buttonwillow's got a brand new racetrack coming. So,
yep.
How does your bike react to a new racetrack? Like, how do you react to a new racetrack?
Well, I think we saw last week how I react to a new racetrack.
Okay. Look, there's always the exception to the rule, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, new surface, you tear up tires. Tire bill is going to go up out there at Indy, probably for the school too.
Yeah,
with the Q3 pluses, but they're not going to really change any characteristics of the track. I'm actually helping kind of pick out some new curbing and new areas for curbing, which is kind of fun to be part of the, consulting a little bit for how they design the track for the next 10 years. So that's pretty cool. And that should be good. I think if we can turn it into a test track for us, it's going to be right in our backyard. So all winter long.
So, adding new tracks to this calendar, this year was the new track, the Ridge, obviously, pour more salt in your wounds there. One of the comments I heard Cameron say during the test, he's like, man, if we're going to race here, we should race at Thunder Hill. If that track's,
it's really not that's right? A 100% legitimate statement, honestly. Like, I would rather race at Thunder Hill. Besides the fact that they have so many test laps there and I'd have to really get up to speed. But the Ridge needs a little bit of work, but I'm biased based on my experience. I just got to get up there and conquer it and get some confidence before the next round next year. Because if I go in there without seeing the place, I'm only going to have bad memories.
I mean, that goes into that preparation thing you were talking about earlier, right? Like maybe
exactly
laps, I think Champ School school there, right? Or no?
Yeah, they did simultaneous schools at Jersey and the Ridge this year, and I went to the Jersey one instead, so I didn't get to go out there. It would have certainly helped just to have it fresh, because even now, like, I only did like 9 or 12 laps or whatever during that whole race weekend. I still can't like visualize a lap at the Ridge after 4 full days of on track action we had, because I just didn't get out at all. So yeah, I got to get up there and conquer it and try to make it one of my strong tracks.
So where else, like I said, Cameron said to add Thunder Hill to the schedule, right? Where else do you think, if tracks like that get added to the schedule, and why not add Buttonwillow? Why not add somewhere else? So, like, where else?
I think we're stretching it there. We're stretching it.
No,
I would love to see. I want to see MidOhio back on the schedule if we could get some resurfacing. Like, I'm really pumped we're going to Indianapolis, because it's one of the gems in our country, and there's no reason why the American Series shouldn't be racing there. Coda obviously needs to get back, and it will be. It'd be cool if we could do a standalone there, but I understand it's, I kind of think, there's not too many others that I would just die to go to, because, honestly, Utah outer course is a favorite of mine if we can get back out there, if they can make that work. But yeah, there's there's nothing in Arizona, that's raceable. So that's kind of a bummer. There was going to be a place, but I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. MidOhio would be my number one, like if I could go back anywhere, for sure.
Right on. So let's see. We've got Rafael Remelo. He says he's like talking about the Harleys. Are you gonna do the baggers race at Laguna?
Absolutely not.
That was pretty quick.
My brother's doing it.
Is he really?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all like, yeah, it's gonna have turbos and it's gonna have this and that. And Travis was like, let's talk about brakes.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I think my Harley days are over. Unless I can get on a flat tracker again. We'll see.
All right. Okay, so then a couple of Instagrammers too. That I got some questions here about, it would be cool to hear about how you went from like basic track days to becoming a professional rider or whatever, getting sponsorships. And a lot of people tell me, oh, you just need money, but what exactly does that mean? And like, what steps do you take for different riders at different levels? And because he says he's found it's almost a secret in America that only the people know.
No. I'm not gonna go crazy here, but there are no secrets. It's just relentless hard work. You just got to keep pounding the pavement and knocking on doors. And like early on when I didn't have a ride, like 2010, 2011, when I was kind of in between the family team that was kind of over and trying to figure out how I could stay racing with no money, literally, I went to all the races anyway. I found the cheapest plane ticket that was the stupidest layovers and whatever, and got out to Sonoma and slept on the floor in somebody's hotel room just so I could be there and be at the track. You got to be there. You got to have your face there. And I would go to all the IMS shows during the winter, and I would talk to all the people at every booth. I'd make a whole list and just try to generate a network. And eventually you play the numbers well enough that some people can help out. So I mean, like my first deal on my own was I rode for Richie Morris on the Harleys in 2011. And like I begged him all winter long, and I think he was trying to find another paid ride guy, and he finally didn't, and said he would provide a bike if I could come up with tires and crash damage. So of course I committed to that, and found it's just crazy how things work. It's I remember being at Daytona, and we were at the Ross Myers dealership down there at the Harley dealership, and we were broke down because we had engine issues. We were trying to get ready for Daytona and get ready for the race weekend. And rather than sitting around and watching the guys work on the bikes, I went out to all the vendors all around, and I had printed out little marketing packets, and I didn't have really anything to sell other than I'm gonna go racing this year somehow. And the one guy who just felt like he believed in what I was doing worked for Kuryakin, a bolt-on part manufacturer, hired me to go to all the rallies and install parts, and gave me a little bit of money, ran a custom helmet with their logo on it. And the next year they ended up giving me a Harley to start my own team in 2012. And that was all because I decided to go and talk to people when I was stuck at the dealership waiting for the weekend to start, instead of just kind of sitting there hoping something would happen. So I tell that story just to give an example of how one little encounter can come back around. And when Richie's team folded and went away at the end of 2011, I was like, I literally put in a job application at Home Depot, and everything came around, before I accepted. So I don't know. I like to tell that story because you just got to stay with it, man.
So get out there, pound the pavement yourself. How bad do you want it, right?
No secrets, man. There's no secrets.
Okay.
So I guess you got to look like Justin Bieber or something too. Is that you
Yeah.
would say?
Yeah, there you go. You used the third one. I didn't.
Yeah, I used it up for you, so you didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I allowed 3 references. So
there you go.
no, that's.
Would you consider going back to race flat track?
I don't know. It's kind of crazy how it's all blown up. I mean, when I was racing flat track 07, 08, it was like, God, road racing was where it's at. Right. And it's crazy how flat track has blown up and how much support there is from Indian and Harley and like all the gear Alpine stars and everybody jumping in and supporting that series. But
like I know
those, yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of Mythos guys in that series too.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty amazing, but it would take a lot at this point for me to get up to that level again. And I mean, I was never at the front of a Grand National level, you know, when I was 17, 18 years old anyway. I was just kind of the up and coming kid, but it would take a lot, and I'm pretty invested in what I'm doing over here, so probably stick with it for a little while.
Right on. So let's see what else. This is from Matt Reidliger. Like he says, does being at the absolute bottom of the forks on your corner entry affect the angle of your dangle?
Yes, and if I'm absolutely on the hard bottom, I pull my groin. As it looks like no, I don't. I've been trying to get out of the leg dangle. I can't. Literally, like I never had it until I got on the Ducati, and I don't know if it was like an ergonomics thing that it didn't feel comfortable for me to keep my foot on the peg. I only do it in the left-handers. I don't do it with my right leg, so it must be something has triggered my flat track instincts where the left foot comes out. But I started destroying boots, and Alpine Stars was getting a little mad at me, so I need to reel it in a little bit and keep the feet on the pegs. And then
I been watching you for a while and known you since I don't know 5 or 6 years ago, and the Ducati thing, that leg dangle thing with you seemed kind of new for that, and I wondered what that was about. Like, is it your foot pegs are too sticky and you got to take your foot off the peg or something? Like, what's
no, I mean, it's just
cool in the photos. I mean, not gonna lie, it looks cool.
I mean, it was mostly just like it also adapting to what the Ducati needs to be buried. Like it needs me to be aggressive on the brakes. And I think the Yamaha, you could be a little bit more flowing, a little bit lighter and let the thing roll a little bit more and be more fluid. The Ducati just needs that aggression. And I think that was just part of what happened is like feeling that late on the brakes is like, I'm going to fall over. So I'm going to put my foot out. I don't know. It's just something that kind of happened, but I'm trying to get out of it. And at least I'm getting the boot off the ground, so I'm not destroying so many boots.
So Alpine Stars actually said something. They're like, dude,
really? Well, they gave me a brand new pair of boots like on Friday at MotoAmerica 2, the weekend I got my podiums, and Saturday during the race, my foot was slipping off the peg because I wore through the sole. And that's like 30 laps. So they were not happy. Brand new set of boots was already, past resolable. So get that tuned up.
Okay.
But those long left-hand braking zones too, where it just felt right. So we'll get it tuned up.
Right on. So how did you end up in Tucson?
Really because of the school, because of Champ School. First time I went to Tucson was to go teach out at Indy for Yamaha school, and it was a really cool place. I was dating Hannah for about a year at that point, and we wanted to move out west. She had actually for a while looked at going to University of Arizona in Tucson, so she'd been out there a bunch, and it just kind of like we'd both been there for different reasons, and it just seemed like the place to go. And be a little bit closer to the West Coast where all, manufacturers and a lot of the sponsors and suppliers are from, without the cost of being in Southern California. So kind of turn into Tucson residents and really dig the place. And now I'm a member at Indy and kind of growing roots there. So I'm there all winter long. It's a little hot during the summer, but I'm on the road anyway. So it's a good place to be.
So you mentioned Hannah, like how is that being the writer, and like how do you guys hold that together when you're married and now she's interviewing you on TV? Like, is that weird or?
It's not. Everybody asks that. It's really not, because like I'm just doing my job and she's doing hers. I mean, it's a little bit different when she's interviewing me on the podium, because I've only had 3 podiums in Superbike, and it takes a lot to get there, and she knows what it takes to get there because she knows me from and how hard I work at it. So it gets a little bit more emotional than it might if she wasn't the one interviewing me. We kind of have to like not look at each other because it's like it's a little bit gnarly. So no, it's there might be a little bit of something there, but I'm really proud of her because I mean she's done such a good job. Like when we met in 2014, she'd never seen a motorcycle race.
Oh wow.
Never, like she knew I did something with motorcycles when we met, and that was it. Like she had no idea. And now she's like literally the face of our series. And it's pretty crazy how much work she's put in and how she's decided basically to jump into my lifestyle, with both feet. And she knows more people in the paddock than I do. So it's pretty crazy.
That's that's insane, man. Like I just,
Yeah.
there's no way I could keep a straight face if my wife started trying to interview. And I'd say that's probably pretty. That's pretty common. I'd say most of the people would probably crack up if their wife tried to interview them, and you're doing it basically week in, week out. So
wow, I would say there's probably, if people don't know us, they probably would never know. There might be people watching this that didn't know that Hannah and I were married.
Well, cat out of the bag, I guess.
Maybe.
So, what is it that you rely on more to race? Is it mental prep, physical prep, or emotional? Like, which one of those do you think is like the most heavy?
Definitely mental, mostly because there's times where physically I don't feel prepared, whether it's from injury or from just being so busy that I can't train like I want to or whatever it is. I've got a lot of injuries. I had spine surgery in November. I actually had an artificial disc put in my neck, and that was my 19th surgery. So I've had a lot of injuries all over my body. So like mentally is the biggest thing, is being able to, push yourself to come back from injuries and then be able to, try to believe that you've done the work that you need to do to be at the front. So something I'm always working on, and I'm talking to different people and different riders who've done great things in our sport, trying to just keep learning about preparation and what it takes, because the last thing I want is for the bike to be capable of winning and for me to not be. And we're starting to get to the point where my bike is going to be pretty close to capable of winning. So I better not drop the ball. And, I'm working on getting my physical preparation where it needs to be as well.
So how do you talked about the injury, like what are you doing to recover? Are you doing that fancy, cryotherapy and hyperbaric chamber?
I was in a hyperbaric chamber this morning.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was. It's not a common thing, but my brother's doing it for, because he had a concussion at the Ridge. He doesn't have any real symptoms. We just have a good place here in Rochester that we go to. So I decided to tag along, and it doesn't hurt to get a little extra oxygen in your blood. So, I mean, mostly it's just just doing the work, doing the PT. But I probably wouldn't have needed spine surgery if I was a full-time athlete,
Right.
because I wouldn't maybe spend so much time at my desk. I'd spend more time stretching or doing yoga or something that would help prevent that kind of thing, herniations and all that. So um, I'm getting to a point where I can make my athletic branch of my program be a little bit more of a priority, because it needs to be the number one priority.
So what's your training looking like? Are you a road cyclist, motocrosser? What, you talk to Jay Gagne and he's like, yeah, I pretty much surf,
Yeah.
So,
I like to do Bikram yoga. It's really good. Also is more meditative for me to just unplug from everything, and mostly cycling during the winter time. When I'm out in Arizona, I have the loop path, 100 miles of path right out my back door. Picked a house that was where I didn't have to go, ride with any traffic to get to the path, which is really good. And I do a bit of functional and weightlifting and stuff during the winter, but mostly during the season, it's, I ride dirt bikes here in New York and stuff. Plenty, got some woods trails and a motocross track, but just try to mix it up, get on a rowing machine, got a rower here in New York and in Arizona, and just try to stay moving.
rowing machine that's my cycling coach guy, Nate Loyal, is like all about the
I
rowing.
know Nate. Yeah.
Yeah, Nate's like, yeah, first you got to spend a half an hour warm up on the rowing machine, and then the real torture starts, right?
A half hour on the rowing machine is torture.
It is, dude.
Feels like 2 hours.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
sent him all kinds of colorful text messages after too. So
Yeah.
But so let's ask a couple of questions from the TrackDaz crew. So Rob wants to know, how do you keep that cool head under pressure? Like, is it yoga or meditation? It sounds like you just kind of talked about that. He's like, the dude just seems collected all the time, and he doesn't strike me as a hothead. So there has to be some kind of discipline there.
I've had a lot of mentors in my life who have a lot of experience. I have a lot of friends who are older and business owners, and people that have been through a lot of stuff that have found ways to just carry on, like when shit happens and bad days happen. I'm pretty much like, I'm pretty stone faced, just because I don't really get wrapped up in what happened. I really just try to instantly move on and just see what the next step's going to be. But under pressure, I mean, I don't feel much pressure. I feel like I'm still the guy chasing people. Like, I'm not expected to win. I'm not expected to, be the guy. So I want to be there. I want to have the pressure, because that'll just push me even further. I feel like it's just like I still feel like I'm just trying to prove that I belong on the, in the top 5 and things like that. And I just want to be closer to the front. So, I just, I mean, it's when I look around the grid and, you got 4 guys who were in Red Bull rookies, and guys who've been road racing since they were 5 years old. And I feel like I'm only starting this journey sometimes,
Wow, man. That's crazy. So Gil wants to know, how much business do you actually do while you're are you actually making calls and shit while you're driving the rig?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Try to keep up with the sponsors, and mostly it's been about parts ordering lately, because of how much stuff we've wrecked. But my biggest business this week is my yard sale that I had on eBay. I put all my crashed parts on eBay and sold a bunch of stuff. So today I spent 2.5 hours packing and shipping 30 boxes of crashed parts, and it's just whatever needs to get done, but we're getting to a point where my guys, like I said, we're going to have Dave full time, and like guys that are going to be able to take on the port sorting, ordering, and all the technical side. So I can focus on the few things that I think I really get fulfillment out of and I'm good at is marketing and sales and riding the motorcycle. That's what I want to do.
Right.
Not necessarily in that order.
So how do you pay the bills? Like, do you set it up to where you get a salary from the team program, or how does that work, man?
No, I just
Ducati's kind of
bills
expensive race.
I make the bills go to Arizona during the summer when I'm not home, and then when I'm home, I make them go to New York, and then I just don't pay them.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. I mean, I figured
no.
You could have said that that you're married to a sugar mama or something. Like, come on.
No, MotoAmerica doesn't pay that good. Come on. She's making her share, but no, it's honestly it's difficult. It's pretty difficult because it's I don't expect my guys to work for free, and I'm not really worried about making money for myself. Like, when I'm getting ready for a race weekend, it's like, okay, I have to order a new swing arm, I have to pay Evan, and my rent's due, and then I just pay it, and then I move on. And like, next week, rent's not due this week, and I do have a budget at the start of the year. It definitely evolves throughout the year and things change, but
budget evolves. Really
dude, I'm not that's one way to put it, right? But
budget evolves term ever.
Yeah. No, but I would say that that one of the answers to the how can you possibly do it question is that I'm very good at compartmentalizing a number on a screen versus an emotion, if you know what I mean. If I can be fairly comfortable in very, very uncomfortable financial situations, I'm willing to keep plugging away no matter kind of what's coming at me or what is happening in the moment, and realize that if a bank account goes red, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't wake up tomorrow. So you just got to keep plugging, and there's good days and bad days. And like, I've never been physically hurt or, anything from being in a financial pickle. And, you just got to put down the shovel and stop digging and figure out a way forward.
Wow, man. Okay. So, and then the last one from Bryce, he wants to know, how do you like being an owner and the rider of the team? It seems like you have twice the amount of work as the factory riders. And, once you're done on track, you got all that business to take care of. See, it's kind of a theme here with that line of questioning.
Yeah. I mean, it's all the, the same answers. It's just, I don't know much different. There's that. You can add that in there because I've never been just a rider. But I'm getting to where I can build this team to be sustainable, where I can be the rider. It's just about compartmentalizing. And I've been going golfing with Jason Pridmore on Thursdays during setup day this year, which has helped me just like fill a little bit of a void between like the team owner to the rider. Like, go to the golf course, just talk about the weekend with JP, and like kind of get mentally detached from the team part, and then try to plug into the rider part has been a big help. But I try to figure out advantages that I would have. I don't want to just look at the negatives. I want to try to figure out the positives. Like, I stay in my rig, I sleep in my rig. I bought the same mattress that I have at my house for my trailer. I don't have to commute to the track every morning, right? I sleep right there. I cook in the rig. Like, that's an advantage. Okay, so how many advantages can I create because I'm the rider team owner, instead of just fixating on, all the negatives, or, oh, I'm not a factory rider, oh, I don't get paid, oh, I have to worry about all this and all that. Like, okay, let's offset that with some advantages.
So, you know what? This is something that's one of the first thing that students get asked during the school. What's your plan this weekend, Kyle?
Be a little bit less eager in the first 3 laps of the weekend than I was at the Ridge. Trust my track knowledge of that place. Trust my guys to put a great motorcycle underneath me, that I know they will. They're down there working at the shop right now. It's, it's late. We're getting ready to go. And try to stick around the podium.
Wow, man. Well, you know what, Kyle? It's thank you for joining me on this, and it's been fun. And I wish you the best of luck this weekend. And
Yeah,
dude, hopefully you go fast and take chances and all that.
always. Always. No, I appreciate it, man. And hope everybody enjoyed it. And we're gonna keep plugging.
All right, man. See you on TV this weekend, I guess, right?
All right. Yeah, hopefully. Yep.
All right, man. Bye.
All right. See you, Dustin. Thanks.